I'm Wendy Capewell, an experienced counsellor and psychotherapist. I work with so many people who feel that they're the only ones struggling with the issues that they share with me. Possibly, like many of you, they feel so alone. And so the aim of this podcast is to talk to guests who have their own stories to share, their experience of the struggles that they've been through, or maybe they're continuing to live with, offering their insights as well as their inspiring journey. So let me introduce my guest.
Oh, so I've got yes, Jane Evans is with me today. She's an international parenting coach and media expert. We've been chatting already. We've never met in person. Well, it's Zoom, but we haven't met face to face before. But we've been connected, and I met Jane. She had done this TED talk, and when I found it, I just loved it because it talks about how you connect, how you manage your nervous system, really, how to tame your meerkat, how to tame it and manage it. And if you haven't watched that TED talk, you've got to watch it because it's lovely. Jane, come and chat to people and tell us more about you because you are just lovely.
Oh, that's so kind, Wendy. I'm delighted to be with you, honestly. We were saying it feels like we've known each other for ages, but we've known each other via social media. But your warmth and your kindness always comes through in your messages, and it's just a delight. Yeah, my little meerkat. It came about because I was working with young people, and even this was, many years ago now. I can't even think, 2009 maybe. Anyway, it doesn't matter, but it was a while ago. And I had begun a journey of kind of learning more about how our brains and bodies operate. Because I knew that the children I was with, the young people I was with, the parents with very complex trauma and needs I was working with, there must be a reason why. Why? And so I was very fortunate when I was training to be a respite foster carer. I had a brilliant assessing social worker who started putting me on to all the texts, all the books that were out then around early childhood trauma, the accessible ones, which there were very few of back in the day. And as soon as I started reading them, you just get light bulb after light bulb. And you're like, wow, that's why I sat with that woman. And I knew she was telling me the truth about she would do anything to keep her child. And then fast forward a few weeks, and the very thing that she was court ordered not to do, she had done, and her child had been permanently removed from her. Now, I used to go home from sessions like that as a frontline practitioner thinking, I know she was genuine. I know she loves her child. And yet trying to join the dots up.
Yeah.
It's that thing of you think that she wasn't faking that. So that's what kind of drove me into reading and going back and replaying years and years of frontline, child protection work, domestic abuse work, all that kind of down in very deprived communities and trying to figure it out. And when I started reading about things about the way that our brain forms and our body and our whole nervous system that is our body and brain work and react, then it started to make sense.
Yeah.
And from that, that's very much where the meerkat. So the simple model that I started using years ago when I was working on a child to parent violence project. So I was going in mostly working with the young people, sometimes working with it was usually their mothers. And I was always explaining, how their brains work to the young people, because what transpired was every single one of them, and they were not seeking to make this an excuse, but just when we were together and just chatting, it transpired they'd all experienced domestic violence. Some of the stuff they told me, again, they weren't saying, oh, poor me, this is why I hurt my mum, please feel sorry for me. No, not at all. They were trying to figure themselves out, because it was clear they loved their mothers. There was no question about that. So they were trying to figure out, well, how can I love my mother and then chuck a Hoover at her head?
Yeah.
So that drove me to try and find simple ways to explain more about how the body and brain react in the moment. Again, we weren't looking for excuses. I was looking to enable them not to go online and research and think that they had bipolar and other things that they would tell me, but to come to this place of having a simple model and understanding. So that's where I came up with the Meerkat, panic, 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 little Meerkat looking around terrified, because I would look at them and that's how they'd look sometimes when if we were out somewhere, they'd suddenly go, and it made me think of a meerkat. And then I created this little model for them initially.
Yeah. Yeah, because there is that panic and we can't understand it. And there is also when we are feeling that, we're talking about when our nervous system becomes dysregulated, aren't we?
Yeah, when it's gone into a different state that takes us out of, as we are now, feeling calm and connected and enjoying each other's company, and that's a happy little meerkat sunbathing in the sun and all is good. But into a state of danger, danger, when actually there is no actual immediate danger. So that's when it's happened, but it doesn't make sense. That's when we are dysregulated, we're out of balance, but there is no tiger, there is no angry bear.
No. And that can happen to us as adults as well. And that's the whole thing. And that we can't think logically. Absolutely. There is no logic at all, is there? And we can't engage that logical brain. And that is when we have that rush of adrenaline and we're going, right, there is an angry bear, there is that tiger. And we get all those horrible feelings. And when we get that panic attack, we get, adults especially could go, I'm having a heart attack because my heart feels like it's going to beat outside my chest and I'm getting all that. We get those other feelings. Either you feel like your head is full of cotton wool, or you just go, I'm freezing. I can't even think straight. And all those because we get that rush of adrenaline and all those other chemicals, you get all the tingly feelings in your sweaty palms or jelly legs and all the other stuff that goes on, isn't it? And then, what? It's horrid, isn't it? That meerkat is frightening feelings. And you can't think, or maybe you get that rush of all the other stuff that goes on, because then the next part, isn't it? But the elephant brain comes into play, where all the memory comes in. The elephant brain is the memory. Engages of all the other things that you think about, which I love that part. Oh, and do you remember that? And do you remember that? And then there was that. And then we go into the
more reasons
madness.
to feel scared in this moment and overwhelmed. And it's very sad that we live in a world that doesn't understand this. When they see an adult behaving in a certain way, but particularly when children, it's, they were being rude, or they didn't listen, or they, but if everybody went, wow, that was a child who, for whatever reason in that moment, felt really scared. Now, the child can't say that because they're often not given the ability. I mean, in the moment, they can't say anything, but you know what I mean? They're not raised in that way where they can connect with their emotions and say, actually, I thought about, maybe my dog dying and I just felt really scared. They rarely do people sit with a child in that space. And with adults, it's very easy to say, well, that's someone who's stressed out, or that's someone who's just got anger issues, or someone, and we're not excusing the adults, because, some people purposely use this stuff against other people. So it's always about compassion, but we all need to do our own work to be, better, more evolved, compassionate versions of ourselves. That's what I believe. We can be kind to ourselves as we go on that journey, but our reaction to other people is down to our wiring. So the more that we focus on ourselves, we can become a healthier version for ourselves, but also humanity.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so easy to think the worst in other people.
Oh, it's how kind of, yeah, we're raised to look at other people to blame and be affronted by. And, and the thing is, I have been in abusive relationships where the person was abusing me. So what they were doing was not okay. But, in that situation, I was looking more at myself and blaming myself because I was being blamed. So it can be very complex if you're in an unhealthy, abusive relationship where the other person is saying all the time, you. I mean, from your work, Wendy, that it's never you. It always starts with the individual. So it's complex, this stuff around how we react to other people. But in a non-abusive relationship, the most important thing is to be curious about, why did I wonder why I reacted that way. I wonder why I believe that person did that to me. Not that you can find the answer, but the reality is that they just said what they said. They did what they did. 99% of the time, they're not even thinking about you when they do it. If you start with yourself, then you have some hope because you can, reprogram yourself, which is the work that I do with people, to not react when somebody behaves a certain way, and then you get the freedom. They may carry on doing what they do for the rest of their lives, but you stop reacting to it, which for me is like ha ha
ha. Yes, because we have no control over other people. We have the choice to react in a different way. You're right. That's it. We can't stop other people behaving the way they do, but we do have choices, and that's you're right. That gives us freedom. That does give us freedom. Absolutely.
Yes, I'm all about that now. I just want to live my life in lots of inner peace and joy and contentment. And, if there's a little bump in the road, then I get rid of it as quickly as I can so I can continue on this journey that I didn't know was possible to even have.
But I think for children, they don't have that power, do they?
No,
That's the
not at all.
problem. They don't know how to express themselves, and I think that's what adults forget. They're just expressing themselves in the only way they know, and that can be anger, that can be crying, it can be withholding, maybe in some situations. They don't know how, they haven't got the ability, they haven't got the experience, they haven't got that logic that we've developed.
Well, I would say that they get too much logic. This is the major problem. What they don't get, what happens to children is, and this is not good English, but they get logicked out of being able to connect with how they feel about things, safely feel it. And then, of course, it just goes on its own sweet way. This is the root of so much emotional distress in our children and our adult population, is we raise children in a way that is completely the opposite of how humans operate. So, I have a grandchild now, she's nearly 3, and everything with her, it starts with, how she is feeling about the ice cream that's fallen on the floor, how she's feeling about her favorite program now coming to an end, how she's feeling. So what the opposite would be to say, well, it's time now because we have to get ready for tea. That's logic. That's about the adult's needs. The child is having a big emotional reaction to Topsy and the dinosaur, whatever it is, needing to have a rest now and, blah, blah, blah. So you would go for the emotions. That way, you raise a completely different being from pretty much everyone. You raise a little being who can safely feel the frustration and avoid using the word anger because people use that all the time. Actually, you never just feel one feeling. Oh, you're maybe feeling a bit frustrated and maybe a bit scared that Topsy's not coming back. Oh, and then allow them to feel the feeling.
Yeah.
And by doing that, what you do is you keep them highly connected
Yeah.
with how they naturally are. And, logic that's really of not much use to humans at all. We're a bit obsessed with it nowadays, but it's not how you get to have a healthy whole human being. And, I see her, my granddaughter, she slowly, not that we care, but as in there's no tick box to tick, but she will sometimes say, feel sad, feel angry, feel great. So she will grow up first and foremost checking in with herself and then feeling safe in that moment to feel flipping frustrated, and it won't stick in her because she's not being logicked out of it.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to transition to as a parent. I get that. I've had to work on it myself a long time, but it's the key. It's the key to all mental health and emotional health and physical health and relational health, which doesn't make it easy.
No, because it's like anything else. If they're not taught about feelings, how on earth can a child understand feelings?
Yeah, and it's just the thing of there's lots of books you can buy and all that stuff, but again, they're not, and some of my books do that, but that's not the most important thing. The most important thing, they actually know about feelings, they just don't have a word for it.
Yeah.
Feel it really powerfully, the excitement, the joy, the fun, the whatever. Our job is just to suggest potentially that they are feeling excited, and then they get the words to go with the sensation in their bodies. That is amazing. Things where and Olivia's got some of them, but what I always talk about feeling when we're reading them, which is often the word missing in the book, that the cat is feeling so excited inside now. Yeah. So keep going back to the fact that it's inside your body rather than you're looking at an expression. Oh, that's the expression of, because, that's no use to anybody.
Yeah.
Again, it's very logical. Like, that looks like anger. Well, there's a brilliant book I just read by, I think it's Lisa Feldman Barrett, all about emotions. And as she says, well, in one circumstance, a picture might look like anger, but if you know the context, is actually they weren't angry. They were like super, like,
yes.
major tennis tournament. You know what I mean? It's like, that's not your best key. The best key is this, not that.
Yeah. Well, I noticed a lot with adults that they are fearful of expressing or even noticing some, being around certain emotions. They are fearful of confrontation. They're fearful of anger. They're fearful of lots of, they don't, they really are fearful of anger. They're fearful of confrontation. Maybe because they weren't, anger to them was something that was they didn't experience as a child in a safe environment. Anger was explosive and they were scared of it. So they didn't see anger being expressed as children in a safe way. It wasn't healthy anger. It was something that it was violent anger.
They were on the receiving end of it. So.
Yeah. So it wasn't expressed in a healthy way. As you say, they were on the receiving end, or they've witnessed it. So anger is something they will avoid at any situation. Or they're worried about expressing themselves, being able to be confrontational. I mean, sort of being confident about expressing themselves because they're worried about conflict. So they'll avoid things, and that's so sad because they're fearful of those things. But just helping people. But I think if as children, if we can help them express those things and feel them, then surely that's got to be really a way forward.
Absolutely. It's how we do it is the problem, because most parents, and I work with parents across the world, I have done for many years, they don't feel safe. They get triggered or activated, trigger's not a great word, activated when their child is sad. Because when they were a child and they were sad, people tried to stop. Like, no, their parents didn't deal with their feelings of sadness or frustration or anger or excitement or whatever it was. So it got locked down, or they got told off, or they got distracted, or given a sweet or anything to just make the feeling go away. So they've never been through the healthy activation in their nervous system of and then big feelings, big sensations, and then actually with a safe adult, and now I feel okay again. I had that big rush of frustration and annoyance and whatever it was, because I can't go around to my friends right this second. I was allowed to feel it. Nobody had a meltdown. Nobody got angry back at me. Nobody, like, it was safe, and I flowed through the emotion, and now it's flowed through my system and it's gone. If you don't experience that as a child, and I have yet to meet an adult who has, in the many years I've been on this planet, I have never met that adult who had someone when they were a child, when they were a baby, when they were a young child, who felt could calm themselves and ground themselves enough to be with this child who was feeling very scared, very upset, very whatever it was, and held them emotionally, not physically, emotionally, through the process until their little systems felt safe and okay again. And sometimes it's a long process. If you have children who they've never had it, then you start trying to do it. It doesn't just automatically happen. So it's hard. If it didn't happen to you as a child, then whatever the emotion is, loneliness, sadness, I find with many people, it's feeling sad is really terrifying for them. Yes, definitely feeling angry, feeling that they might get into a situation of confrontation, any of those things. But it can be excitement. I used to avoid feeling excited because it made me feel quite scared and unwell, because one of 5 children, it was not desirable for us to be excited. So it can be all sorts of emotions. That's the interesting thing.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It could be scary, because if you get excited, then what if you're let down? What if it
Just the
doesn't happen?
physicality of it, the physicality for me of what it feels like when you feel excited in your body, triggers the same fear as fear. Because it's a big sensation, it's a big energy, it's a big and yeah, now finally I can, I've done enough work on myself. I can safely feel excited. I don't spin out and want to get rid of it, because it just is feeling the same as feeling scared.
Wow. Yeah, I think so many people will. They just dumb it down. They push down their emotions because they
We
can't handle it.
self-medicate with everything and anything we can get our hands on. If we have not been able to safely feel our emotions, which again, I can honestly say I've never met anyone who has, then we without realizing it, we self-medicate with screens and work and exercise and alcohol and food, or not eating food, whatever it is, we have to medicate the unfelt emotions in our body.
Yeah. Distract, keep busy, keep going, keep doing everything.
Everything and anything that people say, oh, that's a habit or an addiction. It's just, as Dr. Gabor Maté would say, just an attempt to escape emotional pain or stuck emotions in you because they feel flipping uncomfortable.
Yeah absolutely. It's been lovely talking to you today, Jane. I mean, there's so many more things that we could talk about. I mean, absolutely. I follow you on social media. You've always got something interesting to say. I love it. I think everybody should watch that YouTube TEDx talk, because it's interesting, and there's lots more that you talk about. And I would just say to find you, just search for you on Jane Evans. I think that's the easiest way to find you, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, probably if you put Jane Evans trauma or Jane Evans anxiety or something like that, that will probably lead you. I mean, I call myself the lasting life change coach, but I don't do all that, research what brings your name up thing. But yes,
Yeah.
I should do.
Yeah.
That's what grown-ups do. They do analytics. I do not do analytics, but
So yes, but thank you so much for today, Jane. Thank you. I've
oh, it's been a joy,
enjoyed it.
Wendy. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I hope you found this episode interesting as well as helpful. Do get in touch if you would like to learn more about working with me. My email address is info@wendycapewell.co.uk. Take good care of yourself. Until next time.